Monday, Labor Day, wasn't Labor Day in China and Japan, obviously, but what it was in China and Japan, those being the second and third largest economies of the world, is that gold hit all-time highs in their respective currencies on Monday. It goes to show you the inordinate and perhaps unjustified strength of the US dollar, which blurs the real value of gold and silver in just about every other currency. We talked the chart that shows gold valued in the top 20 economies of the world, again, roaring to new highs. So it's the value of the dollar that is somewhat making gold's value opaque. You can't quite see it because you're measuring it against dollars, but the rest of the world sees it.
Andy Schectman provides an insightful update on the global economic landscape, highlighting significant shifts towards de-dollarization and an increasing preference among foreign countries for conducting trade in their local currencies. In the United States, Schectman draws attention to the concerning debt situation and the Federal Reserve's need for further debt monetization, which he believes will inevitably lead to more inflation and erode savings. One notable development he discusses is the recent surge in gold prices on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, reaching 465 yuan per gram, marking a 0.4% increase compared to the previous week's record high. Similarly, gold prices denominated in Japanese yen have reached unprecedented levels, hitting 9,152 yen per gram in spot market trade. Schectman emphasizes that evaluating gold's value solely in US dollars may distort its true worth. Still, when measured against various global currencies, it becomes evident that gold is reaching new highs. Before you watch Andy Schectman's interview and the latest market trends, subscribe to our channel and give this video a big thumbs up. In a significant development, Russia and Iran are jointly exploring the creation of a cryptocurrency backed by gold, commonly referred to as a stable coin, to replace the US dollar in international trade transactions. This stable coin is mainly intended for settling oil transactions in the Persian Gulf region, potentially reducing dependence on the US dollar. Schectman underscores the significance of such initiatives, as they have the potential to reshape international trade dynamics and further contribute to the trend of de-dollarization.
Thinking about what BRICS is to me, it's a system that's based around regional relationships and maybe even military power. But the initial motivating factor against all of this is pushback against the Western nations, against the Western hegemony. And you're beginning to see it more and more and more with really China forming these mutually beneficial alliances and acting as a partner rather than an adversary. And you see that no more clearly than it was just announced that Xi Jinping and the president of India, Modi, stepped aside at the meeting and promised to accelerate the peace plans or the problems they have with Kashmir, and that they want to make this problem go away, to de-escalate the situation. And so when you're seeing these countries who have been at each other's throats for years and years and years and years, finding ways to work things out in a diplomatic way, a mutually beneficial way, is adding, I think, credibility to a group of countries that is being largely, I think, ignored by the mainstream here in this country. You look at something like Iran as an example. Within the span of 1 year, Iran, who supposedly is suffering under the Western sanctions, has been fully admitted into the BRICS nations, as we know, and also a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the largest financial and military organization on the planet. I do not think Iran will have problems sidestepping these sanctions in order to develop, in fact, certainly be incentivized to develop alternatives in trade with all of these other countries that they are now joined with. And you can see that, things are starting to change all over the place, not just with Iran. Look at Saudi Arabia. Their oil exports to us, done again, are at their lowest level in 6 years, as is their holdings of treasuries, which the kingdom has been selling their treasuries now, and it's at a 6-year low. So you have Saudi Arabia and China dumping bonds, in essence, while striking deals outside the dollar, which is is huge. The majority of the African countries want to join BRICS, and I think you will see this more and more and more and more. In fact, a total of 23 countries have already formally submitted their applications for BRICS, the next BRICS meeting. Call it BRICS 2. And then another 22 have expressed interest. In total, you have over 50 countries that are either fully expressing interest or formally submitting an application and or expressing interest. And this is no small organization, as we've talked about. Recently, we found that Moscow and Tehran are working on the use of a gold-backed Persian Gulf token stablecoin. I mean, talk about a knife to the side of the petrodollar. You know, you talk about making a gold token that is for specifically for the Persian Gulf for oil settlement. Here again, little by little by little by little, the erosion of settlement in the dollar will greatly at some point affect the reserve status of the United States dollar. And people who poo-poo this, well, you know, they're right today, I guess, to a degree. But every single day, it's the little by little by little until they will wind up blindsided by what they don't see coming or what they refuse to see.
Schectman discusses how Americans have saved money thanks to government stimulus programs. However, due to rising prices, the value of these savings is eroding. In July 2023, the annual inflation rate in the U.S. increased to 3.2% from 3% in June. The Federal Open Market Committee sets the overnight reverse repo rate to address the economic challenges posed by inflation. This rate sets a minimum level for the interest rates institutions are willing to lend to other parties. Doing so allows these institutions to negotiate higher rates for private investments when more attractive options aren't available. Schectman points out the government is luring funds with a 5.3% interest rate in the overnight reverse repo market due to growing funding needs as countries like China, Saudi Arabia, and Japan sell government bonds. Let's get back to the interview.
At the end of 2021, the Americans had over 2.1 trillion in excess savings thanks to all the stimulus that we were given. And current estimates put that at 190 billion rather. So I mean, it's getting the savings is getting obliterated with inflation as people are trying to keep their head above water. And you know, at the same time, we have the government getting deeper into debt and spending more while taxes are dropping. And you know, you're looking at a situation where they're spending so much money. The government is that inflation is going to have to be at some point just understood that it is going to be the only path that they can take next to default. And as that happens, we have a very dangerous situation. Part of their ability that they've been able to do this is by attracting so much money into the overnight reverse repo market, which is paying about 5.3% backed by the Fed. But as the government continues to need to borrow money to finance because China and Saudi Arabia and Japan are selling bonds, who the hell is going to buy them? So what they have been doing is raising rates high enough, let's say close to 6%, to pull money or attract money out of the reverse repo market directly into the Treasury market from big players going right to the Treasury, like treasurydirect.gov. And so as you see the reverse repo market, the overnight reverse repo market drain, as rates directly at the Treasury are higher than what you can get there, we will realize that there's no one left to lend money to the Fed. They are using the liquidity in the overnight reverse repo market to fund their stupid, ridiculous, nonstop spending. And, you know, the national debt has increased by 1.45 trillion in 3 months. I mean, it's just absolutely insanity. 33 trillion in the past 5 years. And you know what gold is? Gold is proof of work. You had to dig the stuff out of the ground and then form it into a coin, and it's proof of work. But you know, nowadays the Federal Reserve, their proof of work is pushing a button, creating money, buying bonds, and suppressing interest rates. And hopefully the banks, according to the Fed, actually lend that money out into the system. That's how money is created. But right now the banks don't even want to lend the money. So all the Fed is able to do is mess with interest rates. If no one is lending, which is how money is created, because it's too fragile out here. They'd rather get 5.3% and with safety in a reserve account at the Fed than lend it to you and I. Things are starting to really break. And as you see the cost of money and the ability to have it lent to you becoming much more expensive and much more difficult, the ramifications of the banks and all of the problems that have not gone away will only grow. So yeah, you're right. All they do by doing that, it's immoral. It is to create money out of thin air when everyone else has to work for it. And to hold a piece of gold or silver in your hand is to show that someone somewhere worked to pull it out of the ground. And that is why it has real value, real wealth. And it's not immoral like a keystroke by a central banker who decides they want to affect monetary or fiscal policy.
Schectman also notes that witnessing former adversaries working towards cooperation enhances the credibility of the BRICS group. In recent years, tensions between China and India have escalated over the disputed 2,100-mile border in the Himalayan region. However, there is now a shift in the dynamics of their relationship. Despite recent border conflicts indicating increasing hostility, both nations actively seek peaceful resolution and cooperation. Schectman notes that witnessing former adversaries working towards cooperation enhances the credibility of the BRICS group. Given the various global economic trends and developments discussed by Andy Schectman, what do you believe could be the most significant impact on the future of international trade and the global financial landscape? If the video resonates with you, join our community by subscribing to our channel and enabling notifications with the bell icon. Thank you for being a part of our community.